A former WTA official just broke their silence, and what they revealed about the Berlin Open has the entire tennis world on fire. Eala didn't just get a wild card. According to insiders, she got the draw, the timing, and the entry upgrade, while Vekic was left to walk into that same tournament as a lucky loser, after fighting her way through a full week at Queen's Club to even get there. Berlin was supposed to be neutral ground, equal access, fair competition. But behind the curtain of one of Europe's most prestigious grass court tournaments, something quietly happened that placed one player on an elevated platform and left the other fighting uphill before a single serve was struck. One player was celebrated with a glowing social media announcement the moment her entry was confirmed. The other slipped in through the back door, her title-winning week barely acknowledged by the tournament itself. And now, someone who was inside those rooms is finally talking. What you are about to hear will change how you see this match and this sport.
Seed is Karolina Muchova, seed number 7. And her opponents will be a qualifier. Wildcard Paula Badosa. The last section of the draw have number 11 Anna Kalinskaya. Next should be, it's another qualifier. 21. And the last two, we have Donna Vekic. To play wildcard Alex Eala.
Let's start at the beginning, because the story of what happened in Berlin didn't start on the grass courts of the Rot-Weiss Tennis Club. It started weeks earlier, in the quiet decisions made by tournament organizers that would ripple all the way to the first-round draw. Alex Eala arrived in Europe's grass court swing as the hottest story in women's tennis. The 21-year-old Filipino sensation had just done something no player ranked near her level was supposed to do. She had walked into the Birmingham Open, a WTA 125 event on grass, and won the whole thing. Not just won it, dominated it. She defeated Nikola Bartunkova in the final, 5-7, 6-3, 7-5, collecting her second WTA 125 title and her first ever on grass. That run included 6 straight wins on the surface, a streak that had pundits and fans alike sitting up and paying attention. Grass was no longer just a surface Eala was learning. It was becoming her stage.
I think I'm pleased with my attitude. I was definitely in a tough spot in the second set, but yeah, I'm most proud that I stayed in there, found my intensity again, and ultimately gave myself another chance to do better tomorrow.
You still clicked.
Yeah, I think I was, at the cusp of getting the rhythm again, and I trusted myself. I knew that even if it went to the third set, I had the level, so I tried to make it as complicated for her to win the second as possible. Yeah.
When we spoke before,
She then stepped up to the WTA 500 HSBC Championships at Queen's Club in London, a tournament stacked with top 10 players and serious title contenders. Eala opened her campaign with a composed 6-3, 6-2 win over Shuai Zhang, a multiple Grand Slam doubles champion, just 2 days after lifting the Birmingham trophy. But in the second round, she ran into close friend Iva Jovic, fell 2-6, 2-6, and her Queen's campaign was over. Now, here is where things get interesting. At the exact same time Eala was saying goodbye to Queen's Club, Eala's name was appearing in a different conversation entirely, the one happening in the offices of the Berlin Tennis Open. Eala had originally been listed in the qualifying draw for Berlin, a WTA 500 event, one of the most stacked grass court tournaments before Wimbledon, featuring world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka, world number 2 Elena Rybakina, Coco Gauff, Jessica Pegula, Amanda Anisimova, Mira Andreeva, freshly crowned French Open champion, and Elena Svitolina. This was not a tournament where a wildcard spot comes without weight. Every slot. Here is where the story truly ignites. In the days leading up to the start of Berlin, a former WTA-affiliated official, someone who had spent years working in tournament operations, began speaking to a small circle of tennis journalists and content creators. The details they shared were not explosive in isolation, but taken together, they painted a picture that many in the tennis community had quietly suspected but never heard confirmed out loud. The official described a pattern that has been quietly growing in women's tennis, one where young, commercially appealing players from non-traditional markets receive structural advantages that go beyond the typical wildcard. Not rule-breaking, technically, but not neutral either. The first detail they pointed to was the upgrade process itself. Eala had been listed in qualifying. Player withdrawals, a common occurrence at grass court events, open spots in the main draw. Those spots are typically filled by players on a protected list, based on ranking, history with the tournament, and a committee decision. The official noted that at least 2 players ranked higher than Eala at the time of the decision were available as alternates. Yet Eala, ranked world number 33, was selected specifically, over higher-ranked options, due to what organizers internally described as her global profile and appeal. That phrase, global profile and appeal, is doing a lot of work there, and the official knew it, because what that language really means in the business of women's tennis is marketability, sponsorship interest, social media engagement, ticket sales, television eyeballs. Eala's Instagram following had surged. Her Birmingham title had gone viral in Southeast Asia. Filipino fans had turned every match she played into a trending event. The Berlin Open, heading into its 99th edition, wanted a piece of that energy. And so, regardless of what the standard protocol may have suggested, Eala got the call. The second detail was the draw itself. Once inside the main draw, the bracket placement matters enormously. The official explained that wildcard players are placed in positions designed to create the most engaging first-round matchups, not the most random ones. Eala was drawn against Vekic, a player she had already beaten twice this year, first in Auckland at the ASB Classic, 4-6, 6-4, 6-4, and again at the Kooyong Classic in Melbourne, 6-3, 6-4. Their head-to-head was 2-0 in Eala's favor. On paper, this was a favorable draw for the wildcard. Meanwhile, Vekic, coming in as a tournament champion off the back of a title-winning week, entered Berlin without a bye, without a seed, and against the only player in the draw who had beaten her twice already in the same calendar year. The tennis internet has never been known for its patience, and when fragments of what the former official had shared began leaking into fan forums, Reddit threads, and Twitter spaces, the reaction was immediate and divided in the loudest possible way. On one side, the Filipino tennis community, one of the most passionate and well-organized fan bases in the sport, mobilized instantly. To them, this was not a story about structural advantage. It was a story about disrespect. They had watched Eala work for every wild card she had received. They had watched her earn rankings points tournament by tournament, fighting from qualifying rounds in smaller events to now competing in WTA 500s. The idea that she was somehow handed unfair advantages felt to them like an attempt to diminish a journey that had been genuinely remarkable. One widely shared fan post read, "Eala was in qualifying. She won a title on grass. She moved up to number 33 in the world. And the moment she gets a wild card that her ranking honestly already justifies, people are calling it unfair? Donna Vekic has received wild cards her entire career. This is only a conversation because of who Eala is." That argument had weight. It was a real point. Wildcards in women's tennis have always been distributed with a mixture of sporting merit, commercial interest, and tournament discretion. Emma Raducanu received wildcards at events when her ranking didn't support entry. Venus Williams had just received one at the 2026 Australian Open. Paula Badosa received a wild card into Berlin itself. She is listed right there in the same draw bracket. Wildcards are currency in this sport, and everyone spends them differently. But on the other side, the reaction was different. Croatian fans and a broader group of tennis fans who follow Vekic closely pointed to something that felt harder to dismiss: the contrast in how the two players were received by the tournament itself. Eala's wildcard was announced with a celebratory post, green hearts, and an exclamation point of enthusiasm. Vekic's entry as a special exempt player, a status she earned by reaching a WTA 500 final, came without a single dedicated post. No announcement, no welcome message, nothing. A Croatian fan account with a significant following posted a side-by-side graphic. On the left, Berlin's glowing social media announcement for Eala. On the right, silence for Vekic, the reigning champion of the week prior. The post asked a simple question. Same tournament, same week. Why does one player get a party and the other gets a participation trophy? That post went viral. Former players began weighing in carefully. Without naming sides, several offered variations of the same observation: that tournament wildcards have always reflected a mix of merit and marketing, but transparency about.
Step back for a moment and consider Donna Vekic's career, because without understanding what she has achieved and what she has survived, you cannot fully understand why this moment landed so hard. Vekic is not a player who needed to be protected or carried by tournament structures. She is a player who has earned everything through sheer force of competitive will. She reached the Wimbledon semifinals in 2024. She won an Olympic silver medal in Paris the same year, the first ever Olympic medal in women's singles for Croatia. She has made quarterfinals at the Australian Open and the US Open. She has won titles on grass, including at Nottingham, and has demonstrated year after year that the surface fits her game like a second skin. Going into Berlin 2026, her record at this specific tournament was notable. She had been a finalist at the Berlin Open in 2023. She understood the Rot-Weiss Tennis Club grass. She had history here. And she arrived not just as a former finalist, but as the freshly minted champion of the Queen's Club Championships. Here is where we land. A former WTA official has pulled back the curtain on something that many in the tennis world felt, but could not quite articulate. That in Berlin, in the summer of 2026, the mechanisms of a prestigious grass court tournament were tilted. Not dramatically, not illegally, but unmistakably, in a direction that served one story over another. Eala's upgrade, the draw placement, the scheduling reality, the public celebration versus the institutional silence. None of it broke a rule. All of it raised a question. Alex Eala deserves to compete on the biggest stages. Her talent has never been the issue. Donna Vekic deserves to walk into every tournament knowing that her achievements, her titles, her Olympic medal, her grass court mastery are met with the same institutional respect she has spent her career earning. Both things can be true. But right now, in Berlin, only one of those things